Hello, and welcome to the Missionary Podcast. I have some good news for you all today. I finally found my water bottle. It has been lost for a full week, and the reason it was lost is because I left it in the recording studio when I went off to do the rest of my work, and then I forgot entirely about it and didn't know where it was, but it didn't really bother me too much because I can just absorb water from the air using the process of osmosis. But today, in recording the Missionary Podcast again, I finally found my water bottle, which means that I have the necessary water I need to record the Missionary Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to bringing you weekly missionary news. As always, yours truly, Elder Swagibrad, has spent the past 7.5 days searching through everything he can find to find the little nuggets of knowledge, little bits of wisdom, little truth facts from the trees that will bless your lives and change your perspective forever. This week has been one of those weeks, and the search has been long and hard, but the harvest has been plentiful and fruitful. Initially, my first location I went to when I was searching for good fruits was the supermarket in my local grocery store. But unfortunately, they were out of green grapes, and green grapes being my favorite fruit, this was utterly unacceptable. I, of course, looked for green grape trees, green grape bushes, and looked for the green grape flowers, but I did not find any. There were no green grapes upon the bushes, trees, or flowers of any of the plants or gardens within a 6 to 7 mile radius of the studio I'm recording the Missionary Podcast in. Of course, the studio that the Missionary Podcast is being recorded in is the hollowed out elephant statue behind City Hall. Of course, there are plenty of plants around City Hall, but none of them bore grapes. So my search for fruits continued. And as I continued to search for fruits, I continued to be unable to find them. Desperately, in a haze, searching for some fruits to share with you, I went to the only place that I go when I'm at my wit's end and can't seem to find any solutions in sight. I went to bed and I fell asleep. And as I was asleep, I had a dream. And in my dream, I was in a garden filled with green grapes, green grape flowers, green grape trees, green grape bushes, and even green grape vines. And as I saw this gorgeous, verdant array of green grapes all around me, I saw a sign on the front of the garden, and the sign told me where to go, to Pablo's website. So when I woke up, the first thing that I did was took a shower. But the second thing that I did was to go onto Pablo's website. And while I was there, I found that they were having a sale on green grapes. Pablo, once again, has come in clutch. But as I was scrolling past Pablo's green grape sale, I noticed another release from his music production site, one that seems to have caught the attention of many, many people. And it was Georgian chant, a new variant on Gregorian chant produced entirely by George the Gnome. As many of you know, George the Gnome has long been a rival of Goblin Gary, and the two have gone back and forth ferociously in many petty conflicts over the years, and it appears that now both of them have achieved stardom on the same platform, Pablo's musical production platform. The Gregorian chant, most recently released by George the Gnome, or I should say George Gnomian chant, has been Aria in Fugue number 13, a George Gnomian chant dedicated entirely to George the Gnome's hate for Goblin Gary. We asked Goblin Gary for a statement on the matter, and we were unable to receive one, as he was preoccupied with trying to count the number of feet that he has. And Goblin Gary has been engaged in this task for the past hour and a half now, and we did not feel it was appropriate to interrupt him from this vital task. George the Gnome has also made no comment, but mostly is because he's busy becoming famous, as he put it on his blog. which has last been updated about 3 weeks ago, ever since his first George Nomian chant was released. Regardless of the rivalries that may be springing up between these newly found artists, it definitely has to be admitted that there is a new splash of music and of variety and of power in the music scene, which can be entirely attributed to Pablo's musical production site. Honestly, I don't know how he does it so consistently, but the soundscape of music has completely changed. I don't even know where we would be, musically speaking, if it weren't for this new development. And I'm excited to see what other areas of society and life Pablo will seek to improve next. He's already solved world peace and totally revolutionized the entire music industry and has continued to produce many, many humanitarian efforts, including attempting to drain the oceans. We don't know how far he's gotten, but he sure is trying, and that's the main part. The last person who's tried to drain the oceans was the god Thor, and he didn't do a very good job of it. So I'm glad we have someone who's actually competent on the job now. Either way, whatever project it is, we can rest assured that Pablo is doing his best to help us all to improve and to grow. This episode of the podcast has been written by Barnaby, the Black Pen. Thank you, Barnaby. Today's quote is, "My chest hurts. I think I swallowed a banana too hard." Today's podcast has been sponsored by the economy. Without the economy, there would be no money, and without money, we would not be able to pay for the Missionary Podcast. Thank you, the economy, for making money exist and causing market interactions at all in the first place. The best barber in the world will never get the best haircut in the world.